Our topic for the project was how hockey players train differently compared to athletes of other sports, and the reason for why that is. For example, football players are a lot different than hockey players when it comes to training. With football, most of the time it's all about the size of the player, but for hockey players, it's about leg strength and core strength as well as injury prevention. We interviewed Mike Bouchard, the owner of MB Sports Training, to learn more about what goes into training a hockey player.
My name is Mike Bouchard, and I am the owner and the director of MB Sports Training. We are a sports performance fitness business that provides training for athletes and adults to improve their performance and to get into good shape. I've been doing this my whole adult life, so it's a long time, and what me personally, as far as growing up and how I got into it, is that I was an athlete younger, and I was a hockey player actually, and so I had a lot of love and passion for playing, but being that I'm not the tallest guy in the world, that I understood the value of training and the importance of training in order to improve and make sure that I'm doing what I need to do in order to get to the level I want to get to. Here at MB Sports Training, we've been going for a long time. I'm going to say over 15 years, where we've been in the rink here now for about 6 years, and we work with a wide variety of athletes, from hockey players to baseball players to football players to basketball players, lacrosse players, and softball players, and a whole bunch of different athletes, field hockey, and a whole bunch of different sports and athletes and levels and ages, and even adults for general fitness and looking to lose body fat or just looking to maintain their health. So.
Okay, I got it. First question, when working with an athlete, what is your first consultation like? And is this where you create your training program customized for that specific athlete?
Yes, so I think the biggest part of it is communication. So part of our process is we do an evaluation, but part of the evaluation is sitting down with the athlete just to understand or have an understanding of them, as well as having an understanding of us and what we do. Because one of the things that's important is we want to make sure we fit with the athlete's or the person's goals. So if somebody comes in and they're a very motivated kid and they're looking for such and such and such and such, I want to make sure that we can provide it for them, and vice versa. If they're not such motivated, they don't know what they want, and so forth and so on, we've got to make sure that we fit them too. And then part of it too is a physical evaluation, where we're evaluating the athlete from a strengths and weakness perspective, just to see where they are. Just to see, I want to know how you are as far as upper body strength, upper body flexibility and mobility. I want to know how they are lower body, same, explosive, endurance. Very basic, but again, it sets that foundation. It does help us as far as creating their programs, because again, with athletic development, it's not only the sport that we're training for, but it's also about strengths and weaknesses and making sure that we're developing the overall athlete too.
Yeah. So when you're developing that plan, what's the biggest thing you focus on besides your strengths and weaknesses?
Honestly, it depends. Yeah. So it depends on the athlete. If there's a lot of issues with weaknesses, with problems that we can foresee as far as injury prevention, then we'll focus on that stuff. If it's somebody we know and we have a very, very good understanding of where they are and where they are as far as the calendar of when their season begins, and we know how much time we have to spend with them, we may critique it a little bit more towards their explosiveness, towards their strength, towards their kind of peaking when they're supposed to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So going off, do you have the same regimen for each athlete, or does it?
It depends. And again, it goes by that. So yeah. I think that one of the things that we were talking about earlier was, do you do things specifically for the sport?
Yeah.
And something that's important for it is for understanding it, is that we don't work on the skill perspective. So we're not looking at us as doing skating or stick handling or things like that, just because we have so many things to do on our side besides the skill.
Yeah.
That sport specific is more of a, okay, what do we need as far as a hockey player? Injury prevention. What do we need as far as a hockey player strength wise? What do we need as far as a a basketball player or a volleyball player from a injury perspective, injury preventive perspective, something like that. And the cool thing about that is a lot of those areas of the body that are we're trying to prevent injury are often overused areas that we have to focus on getting stronger, getting more explosive, and things like that too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Does the regimen change for each sport for the different positions for each athlete, like in hockey with forwards versus defensemen?
Not so much, but it can. I mean, we don't change it all that much. We may take a very, very high-level athlete, professional athlete, and tweak it a little bit more for those guys. When we're looking at our clientele, it's a lot of high school kids, a lot of college kids, and really the overall focus is building that athleticism. We need bigger, faster, stronger, explosiveness, injury preventive, and being bulletproof,
Yeah.
and going from there.
So when you get, let's say, when the elite guy, Jake Lehman's in here, what are you working on with him specifically?
For somebody like Jake,
Yeah.
strength.
Yeah.
Like here's a kid that comes in and he's a good athlete. He's got good movement. We're going to work on getting him stronger, getting him bigger. You know, as compared to somebody else that comes in and they're just having a hard time moving. They're just having a hard time getting through a range of motion with a resistance on them. And it's like, we can't just focus on just one thing like that really big part of
Yeah.
strength. It's more of, okay, we got to work on mobility and things like that too.
Does the training method differ when training children and teenagers versus adults?
Yeah, and it's kind of a misnomer too. We can do a lot of the same things with our younger athletes as we can with our adult athletes, our older athletes. The issue is the focus, and then the issue is the volume too. So obviously, with the younger kids, it's kind of fun because the younger kids want to do what the older kids are doing. Like they're like, okay, I see that person doing it, I'm going to do it too. And for the most part, they're okay with it, but at the same time, they're not going to be able to do as much, so they can't do the volume as much. And especially with strength training and stuff like that, it's not so much they're holding the weights, but we want to get them to be able to handle their own body weight.
Yeah, so what are the differences between training a goalie, let's say in hockey or soccer, compared to a forward or a defenseman?
So differences would be, again, injury prevention. So you're looking at a goaltender for hockey, injury prevention wise, a lot of hips. So we've got to make sure we take care of those. And then as compared to a forward hockey player or defenseman hockey player, we're going to get hips also, but we got to focus a little more on upper body too.
Yeah.
Where the goaltenders are not worried about it as much. Not that we don't train it, but I know injury prevent as far as injuries and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so U16 kid, Ryan, you were just focusing on him with like a lot of his lower body flexibility in the core.
Somebody like him, he's a younger athlete, so again, it's just we got to get him stronger.
Yeah.
We got to get him used to being in here
Yeah.
and get him to have that right sense of getting the job done, being focused, and things like that. And again, it comes into how much time do we have?
Yeah.
Do we have so much time that we can break it down? I'm not saying from a big cluster perspective. I'm saying it from a time management perspective of there's only so much we can do in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, because I know with you guys, because they come in, they skate in the morning, and then they, I think, have a 30.
They're going to come in. They're coming in 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So the way we broke it down with those guys is we saw them for about 45 minutes 2 days a week, and then that third day in the morning, I'd get them for about a half an hour, and I just wanted to get explosiveness, speed, and a little quickness going on.
Yeah.
So that was my goal with them when they came up here.
Yeah.
Not so much the strength training like our other 2 days per week.
Yeah.
How do you think training has changed in the past couple of years? Is it more athlete-based specific, or is it just general?
It's as far as the training, is it more athlete based or is it more like sport based?
Yeah.
Like athlete based, like again, it's still like the athlete based. Mm-hmm. So it's we've always looked at it from a strengths and weaknesses perspective and the sport perspective, but again, it's like, okay, understanding athleticism as compared to sports skill itself.
Yeah.
So again, we're not going to do on ice stuff. We don't have the time, and we have too many other things to accomplish too.
Yeah.
So, looking at it from that perspective, that's the biggest thing. That really hasn't changed too much. That's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, so like what I was going to ask also was when like 10 years ago, I feel like it was more about like just straight squats, and not like to like specific muscle groups training, which is now more commonplace when it comes to hockey players and basketball players training.
The overall, so when I was younger, it was a lot of bodybuilding stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's
the thing
what
is,
I meant.
Yeah, the general population has a tendency to do muscle fitness, has a tendency to do like what they see in the magazines and what they look at for pictures, and it's like, okay, that's how I'm going to train. So general population generally is going to look at it as, hey, I've got a muscle group I'm going to work. So if I go to the gym, I'm going to do legs. If I go to the gym, I'm going to do chest and back. If I go to the gym, I'm going to do arms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for myself and what I've learned a long time ago is I like to look at it as body. We'll look at it as push, pull, upper, lower, rotate, and simplify. You know what I mean? And then again, injury prevention, you're always going to do a little bit of stuff here and there as far as isolation movements for rotator cuffs and for wrists and things like that. But for the most part, we want general coordination because we want to be very strong through a movement, not through a move. If that makes sense.
So I think like what I was trying to get at was like, it's not more the bodybuilding exercise anymore. It's more like a full body workout.
Yeah, and it's been like that for a long time. You know, and I've been doing this. You know, I've been doing the sports training for a long time. I'm really young right now, so but I transitioned out of the bodybuilding scenario probably, it's 2019, probably over 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And I got out of that mindset of, again, you go to the gym, go to a box gym, or you go to a Planet Fitness or something, and it's a lot of, okay, chest and back, bis and tris, that's how we're going to train. Single body movements, things like that, single joint movements, things like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's moved away from that a lot. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably an age thing too, where kids tend to be like, okay, I see this magazine. It's the coolest thing because these guys are really good, or girls, they're really good looking people. That's what I want to look like. I'm going to do whatever they do in order to get there. And then you kind of learn as you go, and it's like, yeah, that's not the only way to train.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think that recently there's been more of a focus on injury prevention than there may have been not?
From my perspective, no. For somebody who kind of is getting an understanding and wants to learn about it, I think that's that gradual progression too, where you're getting away from that. Hey, I've got to, I look at it as I'm older now. I want to be able to stay strong and stay healthy and train and do stuff like that, where I need to bench press and squat and stuff like that, and I don't want my hips or my knees or my shoulders limit me. You know what I mean? From an injury an injury preventive perspective, yes, but it has been going on for a really long time.
When you were younger, when you were playing hockey, I feel like it was just about getting on the ice and skating. And then as it's gotten older, it's become more fitness training.
Absolutely. That's a huge trend. It's been going on for a long time, and I'm seeing it at a young level where the kids are training a lot younger, but it's been going on for a long time. And they are training for starting at a much younger age, but at the same time, it has been going on for a long time.
When did you notice that change happening?
I noticed it probably in the mid-90s. Yeah. I noticed that. It took me, so our youngest age group is 9. And sometimes we'll train teams that the kids are even younger. But again, training is not like you're going to think of training.
Yeah.
Training is, hey, I want you in the gym to look around.
Yeah.
I want you to be in the environment. So when it is time to get in here, you're not in shock when you come in and go, wow, the ball is so big. You know what I mean? And you lose that focus where I want you in here, I want you to have fun, and I want you to be in this environment. So when it really is time to go, and time to go is when they're much older, but I want them to be in here and kind of start taking it and focusing on it and start taking it seriously. But again, seriousness is only for a kid is not too serious compared to what for me.
Yeah.
So you try to make it fun too.
Yeah, when you get the elite kids in here, when you get what's the young kids you work with?
We'll go to the 14s.
Yeah.
So the 14s are the younger kids. It's funny because age group wise, the 14s are usually pretty good. Not that any of them aren't, but the 14s are good because they're just like in shock of being in here, which is cool. The 15s, they're a little bit older and bigger, but they have that mindset of, oh, well, I'm older and bigger, so I can do whatever I want and do as much as the next guy over there. And the 16s, that's like that age where it just breaks off, and that's the serious age where the kids start getting it together up here.
Yeah.
The 15 group's a little bit sloppy, and that's more of, okay, we got to learn, we got to keep it simple, we got to not forget of the age of the kids, because sometimes you get a 15-year-old that's got a beard like me, and it's just like, you forget.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to back off and, you know, again, have fun with them, keep it simple, and try to teach them along the way, you know. And the 16-year-olds, that's that age group. They are stronger. They've got a little bit more experience outside of here, so they get it more. They've heard it more than once just from me.
Yeah.
You know.
How do you work with an athlete who potentially is coming back from an injury or who has an injury?
It depends. So a lot of times, first off, it's conservative. So it really is communicating. It really is kind of knowing where they're coming from. If we have to communicate with the physical therapist, we have to do stuff like that. In my eye, whatever the doctor or therapist says, that's what goes. And then it's conservative and thinking about how we can make that progression go from one step to the next, and keeping that, simply keeping the inflammation as low as we possibly can. You know, we're trying to keep it as simple as we can so we don't overdo it in a short amount of time.
Yeah, so you're trying not to re-injure the athlete, basically.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty easy to do. So you have to be very cautious of what's going on, depending on the injury. Sometimes it's just, you know what, I've been doing it for a long time. Sometimes it's like, you know what, you're good to go, let's go.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, also with, like, what if the kid's having, like, that reoccurring injury? Like, let's say the kid keeps spraining his ankle. Like, what would you do in that situation?
So you'll do a little bit more therapeutic stuff and include things that are going to focus around the ankle under his normal training session. So if we're doing, a squat or something, yeah, we may have to be, again, conservative on the resistance or something and get that body moving the way that it's supposed to. And then also, too, is add in some, instead of instead of an explosive movement to go along with it, we're going to do more of a therapeutic thing. Ankle raises, heel raises, and toe raises and stuff like that. Internal and external rotations and stuff.
So what is training like during the season for hockey, for a league, when you're getting them in here? Because you can't go as hard as you want to go.
It's really volume. So one of the things that's important is, depending on the age, one of the things that's important is that the kids maintain their strength. And with maintaining strength, they do have to work. They do have to lift or do have to challenge themselves. But at the same time, I can't beat them up so much that they're going to be losing their on-ice skill work too. So this is really that supplemental to maintain the strength. Very good for their head, very good for their body, but we just want to make sure that we're not taxing them too much. So it's a shortened workout, maybe not as many sets, not as many exercises, but we're still doing the basics, strength training. We still do a lot of mobility work. We're still doing a lot of, not a lot of speed work because the speeds are getting out there.
Yeah.
So we don't worry about that so much, but we're still doing, again, mobility, strength, and trying to make sure that the kids recover.
Yeah, because I feel like, especially like in season when my friends are playing AHL, NHL, Division I, that's like one of the things is they can't go hard in the gym during season because they're trying to maintain the muscle and not burn out.
Yeah, it's a balance. It's a balance. So, and a lot of communicating, to see how the kids are feeling and stuff like that too.
What is the transition like between during season and off season for preseason?
So if you go from in season to off season, we will go through a lull time where we just kind of slowly tone it down, let the kids recover, get their bumps and bruises to heal, and then we start jacking it up from there. And we'll give them a little bit of downtime, or it could be anywhere between 2 weeks to a month. Can't let them slow down all that much. I still want them to be active for the recovery, and it could be like jogs, cycling, going for hikes and things like that to get their head back together. But it's a rest period that's very important.
You've been talking a lot about like mental. How important has the mental side of working out became in the last, like, let's say 15, 20 years?
To me it's everything, and quite honestly I don't think it's touched upon enough. But as far as like the mental side of sports performance and training and stuff, it really is like so important. It's so important. Just having the right mindset and making sure that, when you come in here, you get done what's got to get done. And it takes focus. It's not easy. It's not easy.
What would you say is the biggest difference between hockey players, the way that they train, and other players, let's say like a football player who's more about size and like their weight?
Yeah, so football players be a little bit more volume. Obviously, they're going to be eating, so the nutrition is going to be a lot different. Yeah, activity-wise, they're not as active as a hockey player. So when you're looking at it from an energy system perspective, a football player is, their time period of work is a very short time period as compared to a hockey player. Their time of work is a lot longer. A shift is a lot longer than a play in football, as compared to a baseball player for a softball player. And it's funny because hockey players are very tough people, I want to say, just in general. There's a mental toughness to it. There's a body toughness to it that's really cool. And each sport has its own pluses and minuses. Where a soccer player, they're not so much into the strength training. They really are like, that to them is not important. They're all skill, condition, and that's it. And with a baseball player, it's a little bit different in that there tends to be, what I've worked with baseball players, it tends to be a little bit of a, hey, you know what, I still got another set to do, so I'm going to save my energy. Hey, I'm going to save my energy. And it goes along with, hey, that's the sport. I'm okay if I don't hit the ball all the time. And it's funny because there's kind of a mindset that goes along with it as compared to a male as compared to female. It's two totally different things too. Females are actually a lot easier to work with as compared to a male. Is it a different workout? Yes. Is it different stuff? Yes. But females, there's a tendency to be a little bit more focused. As soon as you get the buy-in is a little bit tougher for a female than it is for a male.
Why is that, you think?
I think it's just a thing about weightlifting. It's a thing about being in the gym and stuff like that. There's just an old cliche that goes on between males and females, and I think that it's fun. It's part of the game that's just interesting, And you get a really cool buy-in from a female athlete, and it's like, man, they just go to town, and it's awesome, And it's like the males too, but males tend to be like this a little bit more. They're a little bit more spacey. The kids are.
Yeah. So how important has sleep become in training? Because I feel like that's been emphasized so much in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. Like, I can't even say how big it is. It's huge. And I tell the kids, I said, I want you to get a minimum of 7 hours, which I'd like for you to get more. And then for every hour of training, I want to see you get an extra hour in. So there's a lot of sleep involved, Yeah.
During the
and
training,
I like naps too.
Yeah, naps are big.
Me, I do too, but I don't get to nap all the time.
During the training process, do you track their progress,
Yeah.
like their strength and stuff by tests, like vertical jump tests?
Yeah, we do it
long
often.
distance?
Yeah, we'll do it. We do testing like a couple times a week. Yeah, it's part of their training. And then also too is we do a lot of strength testing too for overall strength. Yeah, we do it a lot.
How does your training progress when you know the season's 2 to 3 weeks away before the training camp?
Depends. So if a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just bump them right to the end, and when they get to the end, they're going to go through they're going to go through a little bit of a lull when they get back to the team, and that allows them to get their rest that they need.
Yeah.
So I'll just bump them to the end. Sometimes I'll have to regress them a little bit before they leave to let their body kind of let the work that they do for the training time period flourish. So it actually helps expose it a little bit better. And it's all good.
So you ramp it up, and then with week and a half, 2 weeks left, you just
not cut it down.
Cut it down.
But I may lower it a little bit.
Yeah.
Or focus a little bit more on one thing rather than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys do anything with nutrition for your athletes?
Yeah. So nutrition's a big part of it too.
Like nutrition plans customized or
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of stuff that goes with it as far as nutrition too, and depending on the athlete, depending on the level of the athlete, we'll do nutrition plans, or we'll do more of just try to teach them as much as they can to make the right choices, and try to teach them about being prepared, teach them about choices, trying to teach them about eating when they're supposed to eat, things like that, and teach them about that stuff.
Yeah, I mentioned you played when you were younger. Talk about how back in the day in the 70s, like guys like Derek Sanderson, Ron Duguay, I think the 70s too.
Yeah.
Like those guys training and eating, and that was so different compared to now, where it's like it's a full-on science and it's almost become athlete specific, basically, that nutrition.
Yeah. So you want it? Here's a funny story for you guys. So a long time ago, well, probably about 5 to 10 years ago, somebody gave me a letter from the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was the tryout letter for the team for the fall. So the letter said, and I don't know what I did with it. The letter said, from the Toronto Maple Leafs, hi, such and such. I just want to say we're very excited for you for the tryouts coming up in September or whatever. Just make sure you, when you arrive, you bring your golf clubs, because you're going to need to make sure that, we're going to be playing golf on the off times, and you're going to have to do 20 sit-ups, 20 body weight squats, and you're going to have to run, I don't know, maybe a length of the track around. And that was the test. And I'm like, wow, things have changed, huh? That was in the 60s, but I'm like, wow, things have changed.
That was in the 60s?
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
I know, because I remember my buddy's dad used to coach the Flyers, and I think they had to do like a 2 or 3 mile run.
Oh, yeah. Today's standards are like,
yeah.
You have to make your times, or else you're not even getting on the ice.
Yeah.
Like
So
there's certain criteria that they have, and if you don't meet the criteria, then you're not even getting on the ice. I coached just about every team there. So I was with the hockey team first, and then I got. What did I get second? I think I got lacrosse, men's and women's, baseball, softball, field hockey. Maybe it was field hockey second. Tennis. I don't know. It must have been, there was probably more. But going through all the teams, soccer, males and females, both men's and women's. But going through the teams, which was a lot of fun. But Pete came up, and it was just good to see him, and working with him. And then he hasn't been in here and just recently started up with me again.
Yeah.
But he hasn't, we went through a time where I didn't see him for a while, but, it's all good.
Yeah.
And then from where he is now to where he's going, it's more of a physical fitness thing now. And I try to really sell the importance of that mental part of it.
Yeah.
Not just body weight and body composition, stuff like that. It's more of a health and wellness, keeping your mind clear and stuff like that. But man, the game's changed so much. The kids are so much faster, so much stronger. The equipment has changed a lot.
Yeah.
That's pretty, I think that's the biggest thing. The equipment really has changed an awful lot. And now these guys are shooting pucks like, oh my God, they're going to take somebody's head off. Unbelievable. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I was watching last night, I was watching the UMass game. That was just fun. And then I'm watching the pro game, and I really enjoy pro too. But the guys are they're just animals. It's awesome.
On the college game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, both college and
Yeah.
pro. Yeah. And it's just fun. It's a different game.
Yeah.
Like there's things that the pro guys do that's just, to me, is just amazing. And the college guys are just so fast and they're so strong.
Like you see a kid get in there his freshman year, and then you go with his junior, senior, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, you go through the cycle of them. Yeah, it's pretty neat. So, yeah, it's really neat.
They talk about what kid you had when you saw him as a freshman working at Quinnipiac.
Big
and then
one that's
senior
awesome
year.
that pops into my head is Michael Bordieri. So he was a child when he came in, and he left, and he just was a totally different person. And he always had great hands and speed, but then he put the pieces together. Awesome. Unbelievable. But there's guys like that, like a lot of them. And he was a young kid coming in.
He was like 18, 19.
Yeah, so he was young coming in, and then he's finishing up, and it's just like, holy cow. And the same goes with you're getting a kid that comes in that's 21. They're still kids.
Yeah.
So they still have so much more to mature physically and mentally. You know what I mean? And it's just fun to watch. And that 4-year cycle, and it's like an Olympic cycle, 4-year cycle, it's like, man, you can do an awful lot with these kids. It's just fun. It's really cool.
Let me ask you this about Quinnipiac. What do you think of the rise athletically that it's been on the last 15,
So it started
20 years?
It started just before I got in there, and it went through it. And now it went a lot further than when I've been out of there now. I want to say probably almost probably more than 10 years. I don't remember when I was there last, but it's been a long time. And watching, good for power, watching things occur. So the big thing was when we first started when I first started getting in there, only the last year we had the rink up top. The last 2 years we had the rink up top. But before that, we were downstairs. We were here when they played.
Yeah.
But our strength training, we would have to be in the gymnasium downstairs,
Oh,
down
so
on the main campus. So we had to be in there with all the teams. We were in there at 6 a.m., all the teams. And we would be down there and doing our thing and whatever, but that was our training. Again, coaching, is it the support system? Is it the trainer?
Yeah.
The support system, the strength coach, that's huge.
Yeah.
But it's all the pieces that go along with it, too. Your athletic director, getting the right kids in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That
all goes back to, again, if you're not going to be prepared, if you're not going to work hard, the preparation comes way before the season begins. But if you're not going to be prepared, there's a level of not buying it. There's a level of lack of commitment. And it is not something you want to have around. You got to get everybody to buy it.
I want to give a big thanks to Mike Bouchard of MB Sports Trading for sitting down with us and helping us with our video. Mike stressed a couple things on how training is important for athletes and hockey players particularly. How he stressed it's mental. If you're not getting the buy-in, you're not going to get the results you want. He also stressed how important it is to eat properly, get the right amount of sleep, and how it's about getting the kids ready in the gym, getting them exposed to it, getting them used to being here, because you're going to be in the gym if you play hockey. There's no question. But exposing to the gym when they're 13, 14 years old, that will allow them when they're 15, 16 to get in the gym and get the work and put the results in to help them get to the next level, whether that's Division I, Division III, juniors, or the NHL.